Hello. Welcome to Vedanta Study Abroad. I am Asmita, your mentor, here to help you out with something very important today. I know you're taking a look at 1,000 different things. You're like, oh no, I have to fill out this application. Okay, I have to take the SAT. I have to take the IELTS. I have to take this test, that test. Oh no, I need to show these financial documents. I need to talk to my parents. There are a billion things going on in your head right now. And I understand. And you're just scouting the internet for information, and sometimes you're also getting a lot of conflicting information. You're just extremely confused and all over the place. I get it. I have been through this process myself, and I know how hard it can be for a student. And despite everything that you're going through, there's this constant image in your head that, okay, this is the university that I want to study in, and no matter what, no matter how difficult it gets, I'm going to envision that and I'm going to try my best to get into it, right? So because you have this dream, because you're working so hard, you are focusing on everything that is crucial, that is important. But in this process, you might not pay enough attention to things that don't seem as important, but can be a deal breaker when it comes to your application getting accepted or rejected by your dream university. You might think there is nothing difficult about writing a statement of purpose or LOR, and this is like a one-day thing that I can do. This is not even my responsibility. I just need to ask my professor to do this. You might be thinking along these lines, and let me tell you, a bad SOP and badly worded, incorrectly written letter of recommendations can ruin your chances completely of getting into your dream university. So please, these two things might look like minor, insignificant things, but they are very, very important. And I am actually going to show you proof that these are very necessary and you need to be paying a good amount of attention to them. And don't worry, I am also giving you a solution. I'm going to step by step tell you how to write the best, the most compelling statement of purpose, and again also guide you through how your recommendation letters need to be written. Okay, but before I do that, I need you to subscribe to the channel and follow us on Telegram so you do not miss out on these important updates, right? Okay, so as you can see, this is an Economic Times report where they've said that Australian student visa rejection rates are at an all-time high. And most of these rejections are for international students from our subcontinent. So it's basically Indians, Nepali students, Pakistani students who are being impacted by this. Okay? And we want Indians to be everywhere in the world. And because we know we have that intellect, we have intelligence, we have that hard work drilled into us ever since we were kids, and we know we can do well in those countries. So we need to now work on these things. We need to figure out why these visa rejections are happening and make sure that they don't happen, right? So there are some things that are beyond our control. Those are just changing global situations, changing migration policies in different countries, and to some extent even stricter financial requirements. These are also beyond our control, because I know a lot of you are now going to take loans in order to go and study abroad. So these are things beyond your control. You can't do much about these, but there are some things that are in our control, which are academic requirements and just the basic process of filling out your application, making sure there are no gaps in your application, right? So now we can see that the rejection rates have gone up to the extent that 1 in 5 international students are facing rejections in the last, have faced rejections in the last 2 quarters of 2023. And this is not just an Australia specific thing. This is happening everywhere. Canadian student visas, there were around more than 3 lakh study permit applications that were rejected in 2022. The approval rate was only 58%, with visa refusals often due to insufficient financial proof. Okay, so like I said, this is something we can't do much about, because if they change their policies and if they want their candidates to be more economically stable and have that money to show in their bank accounts, many of you can't do much about that. That's not in your control. But this is in your control, which is weak SOPs. And this is an actual reason why applications are being rejected. Okay, and unclear study plans, which again has been reflected through the weak SOP, right? So while we can worry about the things that are not in our control, whatever it is in our control, we need to make sure that, there's no lapse from our end, right? So there is also another reason why applications were denied. That's because of immigration officers not being sure that the students intend on returning home. Okay, and all of this can be clearly stated in your SOP, and so that the immigration officers don't doubt your. And see, oftentimes you might know, you might not know, a lot of people try to emigrate to different countries through illegal ways, and getting admission in a university, not studying, not completing your degree, but getting admission just to be able to go to that country and then settling down over there is a route that people take. And so to crack down on such immigration, these policies are being implemented, right? So while these do affect genuine students can show that they are actual genuine students who are just here to study from a top university through their SOPs. It is your SOPs and your LORs that show your intent, that prove that you are genuine students, all right? Which is why these become crucial. So for student visas, a strong statement of purpose is extremely necessary. 25 to 30% of student visa rejections for countries like Australia and Canada occur due to weak or unclear SOPs. And this is from proper research done by IDP Education. Okay, so what can you do about it? I'm going to give you a solution. We're going to figure out how to write the perfect SOP that clearly states your intention, what the content of an SOP needs to be like, steps to write it, and the AI tools that you can help. Also, how to use AI and how not to use AI when it comes to writing your SOP. Okay, so what is an SOP to begin with? An SOP is a statement of purpose, which is a personal essay required by universities and visa officers as a part of a student's application for studying abroad. Focus on personal, because this I'm going to talk about this a little later. Okay, now what does it do? A statement of purpose simply outlines the applicant's academic background. So what have you studied so far, career goals, what you want to do in life, reasons for choosing a specific course, why do you want to study this, and why do you want to study it from that particular university that you are applying to. What is your intention behind going to this university? So all of this needs to be stated, okay, in your SOP. Now, the content of your SOP, this is a sample SOP, but I'm going to take you step by step what the different paragraphs need to contain and everything that you need to cover in your SOP, okay? So basically, roughly, we can divide it into 3 sections. The 3 sections being the first, the motivation section. And this is not some motivational speech that you are giving. This is what drives you. What is your motivation? Okay, that's what this section is about. Next, you have your academic and professional background section. This is more or less quite factual, okay? You're just stating everything that you have done so far. This is a good place to highlight all of your achievements and what makes you stand out, right? So what makes you stand out from other applicants? And then we have university relevance section. This shows that is there any thinking, critical thinking behind why you picked a particular university? How much do you even know about that university? Because I told you, that illegal way of emigrating to a different country is just picking any university, taking admission, not even completing your course there, just to move to a different country, right? So here you need to clearly show why you picked the particular course that you're applying to, why you think the university you're applying to is a good fit for you, and why you are a good fit for the university. So you need to do good research. You need to learn about the background, the history of the university. You need to learn about the kind of placements the university has offered in the past, the kind of alumni circle that the university has. All of this you need to know, and you need to cite those as reasons why you want to pick this university. So this is a very general breakdown of what your SOP can look like. So starting with the motivation section, you should share a story about how your passion for this field began. So again, what is the reason why you want to study this particular discipline? What got you into it? Any kind of interesting background information, any kind of struggle that you specifically had to go through in order to pursue your education in this discipline, all of that comes in here. And then you also have to state why you're eager to pursue higher studies in it. What is driving you? Why did your passion arise? What is fueling this passion? All of that comes here, okay? Then in your academic and professional background, you need to highlight your achievements and everything that's relevant. So there are obviously prerequisites for everything. If you're applying for a particular course, there might be some prerequisites that, okay, you need to have this much percentage in this particular subject, etc., etc. So whatever those prerequisites are, those need to be mentioned over here along with your academic achievement, anything that you've done that is not something people normally do. What makes you stand out? Details of all your coursework and training, research projects you've written, internship and work experience, and here also comes extracurriculars. So while extracurriculars are not directly related to the course, everybody wants a well-rounded candidate to be a part of their university. You know, you might later on find out that, hey, I had this hidden talent for theater, or had this hidden talent for debate that I never got to explore in my time in India. And if you are able to pursue those things and make and represent your university in those things, that's always a plus for the university itself, right? So if you have any particular extracurriculars that you have done, maybe not even that seriously, maybe you haven't won state level or national level debate competitions, but there are things that you're interested in, that you have toyed around with, that you like doing, it's always good to mention those because they enhance your personality as a candidate. And maybe your academic performance could be the same as another candidate that's being considered, but it is your extracurriculars that make you, that differentiate you from that candidate, and that could be a make or break situation for you. You get picked because of your extracurriculars and not your academic performance, right? So always make sure you showcase your personality in a very well-rounded way. You're not a linear person who only does one thing, only concentrates on studying. There are other interests you have, and you need to showcase that in your SOP. Next, the university relevance section. Why do you want to pursue this degree? Again, this will go back a little bit to the first paragraph where you talked about your passion. So don't go into too much detail as to why you want to do it. Talk about the fact that this degree, the way it's taught in the university you're applying to, that is what's driving you towards this university. That's what's attracting you. Okay, so here focus more on the university than yourself. You've talked enough about yourself in the first paragraph, right? What are your career goals? What do you want to pursue after you get this degree? Why do you want to join a particular university? What is it about that university? You know, you can talk about the campus, you can talk about the atmosphere and environment there, right? You can talk about the student community, anything that really does genuinely attract you about the university, and that in fact is a plus point of the university. Do mention that, talk about that, and in your conclusion paragraph, you should explain why you are a good fit, why you will fit right in, and how you can add to the culture of the university, how you can enhance the university by your presence. Okay, that's what you're going to talk about in your conclusion. Okay, so that's what your SOP is going to look like. So how are you going to write it? Now you know what to write, all good there. How are you going to write it? Your writing skills might not be very good. So your first thought is probably that, okay, I'm just going to make AI write it, Chat GPT, I'll give a prompt. Whatever You've just heard me saying, you're just going to put that into ChatGPT. Nice SOP you have. You will also tell ChatGPT that make sure it's worded in a way that the university admissions people cannot resist. If you do that, you're not getting in, you're getting rejected, because everyone is going to check if this has been written by AI. Okay, there are tools that can help people just input whatever is written and figure out whether or not it has been written by AI. So if you make AI write your entire SOP, your chances of getting into the university, just say bye-bye to the university, okay, become zero. So what are you going to do if your English is not that good? First step is to express yourself, right? Make mistakes. You know, it could be spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, whatever. Write weird, convoluted sentences, whatever. But write. First draft needs to express who you are, right? So, very clearly you need to talk about who you are as a person in your SOP. AI cannot do that for you. You can do that for yourself. Please make sure you're expressing yourself as genuinely as possible. Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to write about all the wrong things you have done. It's not about honesty here, but it's about a genuine reflection of your personality, the kind of person that you are. Okay, so first draft should be very you. That's why you need to write it. Then you can take somebody's help for proofreading, for wording it better. That's fine. Okay, maybe you have a friend who's really good at writing. You can request them to take a look at your essay, proofread it, give better suggestions for how things need to be worded. And you can also use AI for this purpose. You can ask AI to correct your grammatical mistakes, reword things here and there without changing it up too much. Okay, so that it still sounds like you. Okay, so first draft needs to be written by you, and then you need to keep in mind the requirements. Is there anything specific that your university wants you to add in your SOP? What is the word limit? And so different universities can have different expectations. So make sure whatever university you're applying to, you've read thoroughly what they want their SOP to be like. Then brainstorm, and once you've written your first draft, then you will go to the second step of perfecting and refining your SOP, right? So here, again, this is a general explanation of what your SOP needs to look like. So you can read this, okay? And unless otherwise noted, do not exceed 100,000 words in your SOP. If your university says otherwise, it's fine, but general rule, don't exceed 1,000 words, okay? So once you've drafted, this step is already done. Then next step is to edit it, proofread it, refine it, perfect it, okay? If you cannot do this yourself, you can get help. You can get help from a friend, a person, a mentor, somebody who's experienced particularly in applying to universities abroad, or you can take AI's help, okay? Just make sure you're not generating all of your content from AI, okay? It will get flagged, it will get caught. Make sure you're only using AI to correct your grammatical errors, okay? You can also use these tools for correction and proofreading, okay? That's what you're going to use them for, not writing the entire thing. Very, very important. Cannot stress this enough, okay? These are all good, Grammarly especially. All of these are, AI tools are great to help you out, okay? So that is your SOP, everything that needs to go in it. I hope you've understood the intention behind writing an SOP. Once you've understood that, once that's clear, you are automatically going to write a good SOP. Now it comes to your letter of recommendation, something you are not writing, you cannot recommend yourself. You are recommending yourself through your SOP, right? But now other people who are credible, right, who have respect in a given field, they are vouching for you. They are saying that I worked with this person as somebody who has a good career in this field, somebody who's well respected. as that person, I will recommend him or her. Okay, so the recommender needs to be somebody who is a professional in the field. Okay, it could be a university professor, could be someone else as well, but generally university professors work the best because you have spent one-on-one time with them and they truly understand who you are. Could also be an employer if it was an internship, or if you have some work experience, it could also be your employer. Somebody who is respected in their given fields, they can be your recommender. Okay, now what might happen is your parents might have good contacts. They might know, like, a judge or an IAS officer, somebody along those lines, and they might request them to write a letter of recommendation for you. While that sounds great, they don't know who you are personally, so there is nothing that they can possibly write that will compel the reader of the letter that yes, they have spent time together and this person really vouches for the candidate. Okay, and secondly, you have no actual relevance in whatever field, right? If it's somebody who is a judge and you are applying for, let's say, engineering, there's no relevance. Why are they recommending you? What do they know about your specific skill sets when it comes to engineering, right? So it has to be a university professor, somebody you have worked with, somebody you have a close relationship with, somebody who genuinely likes you and would like to recommend you. Okay, so we are again now going to see how to write it, what the structure needs to be like, conclusion, and the signature section. So whoever you're requesting to write your letter of recommendation, you just need to make sure they follow these steps. If they don't, then once you get the letter, you just need to proofread and make sure that it's structured in this particular way, right? So it's written by a professor, an employer, or a mentor that supports a student's application for higher studies. It highlights the applicant's skills, achievements, character, and suitability for the chosen program. So number one is skills, which is where field relevancy comes in. Next is achievements. Next is character, suitability for the chosen program. So when it's a mentor, make sure that they are also highlighting the skills and achievements and not just the character, because a mentor would genuinely only talk about character, right? So they need to talk about all of these things. So could be a recommendation from a professor who supervised your research, recommendation from a professor who observed your academic and extracurricular performances, recommendation from your internship or employer. Okay, these are the different letter of recommendations that you can have. Now, what are the common mistakes that need to be avoided when it comes to your letter of recommendation? Number one is, again, choosing the right recommender. I've already spoken to you about this, so this is just a reiteration of that. Should be someone who knows you well. That works a lot better. It gives a personal touch rather than someone who's famous but knows nothing about you and is just writing the letter as a favor. It's going to sound like a favor. It's going to sound generic. It is not going to leave an impact. So it has to be from a person who genuinely cares about you, who wants you to get admission into a particular university, right? Somebody who understands your skills and strengths for a stronger impact. And a genuine recommendation carries more weight than one based only on reputation. This is just a reiteration of point number one, that it needs to be heartfelt, it needs to be real and honest. Writing always gives away whether or not the writer is being honest or not. That is why AI generated content, it's so easy for you to tell this is AI generated versus somebody who's written something with their heart. That always kind of shows. And somebody who's reading thousands of applications on a daily basis, their entire professional life has been reading applications, they can easily tell genuine letter of recommendations from dishonest favor type recommendations. Okay, so make sure you choose the right recommender. Now, should it be very wordy? Should it be full of just compliments for you left, right, and center? No. It should focus on particular skills that are relevant for the course that you're applying to, and it needs to properly break down that why this candidate is suitable, because I have seen him or her excel at this. I've seen them struggle with this at first, but the way they came out of the situation really shows how strong-minded they are. Stuff like that, that leaves a better impact than just filling it up with random adjectives that one can find in a thesaurus, okay? So instead of listing down so many qualities, just focus on less qualities but support them with evidence and proof. Give evidence, give proof. It could be marks, it could be winning a competition, it could be a tough time that you dealt with and how the person, the mentor, whoever's writing your recommendation, how they saw you come out of that tough time, how they saw you beat failure. Stuff like this is a lot more impactful when it comes to a letter of recommendation. Again, the LOR shouldn't be too short. This shouldn't be too long. Both can get weird. So what is the sweet spot? Should be, we are saying more than 300 words, but less than 600 words. Okay. So somewhere in that 400 to 500 word marks is, in that mark is where your LOR should be. Okay. So too short means they don't care enough, they don't know enough, and they're just simply doing this as a favor. Too long means unrealistic. Why does this professional have so much time to write such a long letter of recommendation for this one candidate? Gets a little sketchy. Okay, so 400 words, that's the sweet spot. And then whom should you address it to? Make sure that when you read the rules of how to apply, you clearly see whom they want the letter of recommendation addressed to. It would be somebody like Dear Admissions Committee or Dear University, right? So, Dear Graduate Admissions Office, to the Admissions Panel, or Dear Scholarship Committee. You just need to find out particularly whom you need to address these letter of recommendations to. If there's nothing written, then Dear Admission Committee, something generic like this works, okay? So this is just a sample of what it needs to look like. We will also go through it step by step. Now, what is the structure? It will start with a greeting, then the introduction, body, conclusion, signature, okay? So here this, you can also make sure that it's being done correctly. That's not the responsibility of the person writing the letter of recommendation, okay? This is entirely their responsibility. This is where they talk about you and this is where they recommend you, okay? So, addressing the recipient properly, we've already talked about this, that is your greeting, okay? Next, your introduction is their general introduction about who they are, where they work, and how long they have known you, and in what capacity do they know you. They were your professor for so-and-so subject in this year, whatever your relationship is, right? So, that general introduction and why they are writing the letter to recommend you for a specific course, okay? Then comes the body, where they will highlight everything that makes you a good candidate, a suitable candidate, worthy of their recommendation. So your academic strengths, could use words like problem solving, critical thinking, you know, very focused, very meticulous when it comes to details, stuff like that, okay? And when, if applicable, I would say always applicable, to showcase some soft skills as well. So even though your hard skill set needs to be very focused, it needs to be directly related to what course you're applying to, soft skills just generally enhance your personality. How extracurriculars enhance your personality, soft skills also enhance your personality. So very important to mention whatever it is that you have. For example, leadership is a good skill that you have. Let that be highlighted in the recommendation. Communication, you know, empathy, being very helpful in nature, stuff like that can be emphasized because that's what sets you apart. That's what gives you that edge. And having that edge is very important because you are competing with so many people from around the world. You're not in your little well anymore where you're just competing with the students in your school or in your university, right? Your competition is the globe. It's the entire world. And there are going to be many people who have performed the same as you academically or much better than you. So what is it that gives you that edge? Why would someone pick you over somebody else who has perhaps done better academically than you? It is these soft skills. It is these extracurriculars. It is your passion that is reflecting through your SOP. It is the way you have been recommended by someone, showing your human side. Data is fine, but showing that human side is extremely valuable when it comes to these kind of letters, okay? So, conclusion, again a summary of key strengths, emphasis on the key talents, and clearly state that you are recommending this candidate for admission. So you need to communicate this to whoever is writing your recommendation letter, all right? And signature just has their full name, designation, where they're working, email address, and phone number. So this is what a solid letter of recommendation will look like. All right, that brings us to the end. I hope it's all clear what the expectation is from an SOP and an LOR, and now you will be able to write the most compelling SOPs and LORs so that they don't stand in your way of getting an admission. These shouldn't be the reason why your application is rejected. There should be no reason why your application is rejected. And to make sure that you cover all your bases, remember to subscribe to the channel because we talk about everything end to end over here, help you out as much as possible, even more than necessary. And also follow us on Telegram so you don't miss out on these important updates. Please take care, okay? Keep your head in the center and eat well, sleep well, don't fret. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.